Hello everyone, good evening, and today I'm Shivansh Srivastava. Will be going to speak for NS21 Summit and will be covering the topics on getting started with open source and boosting your profile. So you might noticed some of the logos here on the screen, and we'll be discussing a bit detail about these programs and open source in like around 30 minutes from now, and we'll be just covering all the details you need for to just boost your profile and get started with open source. So before that, I'll just want you to just know about me. So this is me. You can check out my profile in the links given below, and I am a SDE intern currently at Paytm Money. I've been mentoring GSOC 21 and GSOD at Circuitverse, and I've been a project reviewer for quite a time for Udacity. I have been mentoring various programs like Anita Bjorg Open Source Day, which is like upcoming on 15th July. You should join that if you're aspiring for an open source contribution, and then you can join FSF Camp, or like I've been mentoring Intel UX and other university SOCs and open source programs. I also have been like 5 times nano degree scholar, and I'm a like open sourcer, so that means I am really into open source contributions. So I'll be discussing about how to just get started with open source and how will it help to boost your profile. So let's get started. So open source is considered as like a type of licensing agreement that allows user to modify a work or like just use it in some new ways. So it provides code implementation of the same problem in various different languages or various different techniques provided by developers all around the world. So it is actually a vast field that allows you to explore in the world of open source codes and everything. So how to get started? This is the most common question for every person out there starting with open source, to how to get started with it. This is actually a buzzing question, and to answer that I am here. First and foremost, you choose a programming language of your choice. So there are a lot of programming language like C, C++, Python, JavaScript. Many people just use frameworks like React, Vue, Angular, etc. So you can just make use of any of the programming languages, frameworks of your choice. Once you're done with selecting a programming language, search for the project that interests you. This is the most important point. You need to search for a project that interests you. So if you're not actually finding a project that interests you, you would not contribute to it. So first of all, search a project that actually interests you, clone the project, set it up, and find bugs or propose enhancements. So let's say when we are done searching for a project, we just clone that repository, we set it up on our local machine, and then we should go ahead with the issues portal or the Jira account, anything else, or the Bugzilla. So you should just go ahead, check for the bugs. If they are not they are not listed on the website, so you can go ahead, create some issues and just start working on it. So open source contributing doesn't mean like to contributing to well-known communities or projects. It is a huge collection of open source projects, so you can just go ahead, search for various other projects that are not renowned, but yes, every project present on the open source code like communities like GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, so these are open sourced, so you can just go ahead, contribute to them without any delay. So these are available on websites like GitHub, SourceForge, and Google Code, Bitbucket, etc. So you can find them easily. Everyone tells this like how to get started, but most of the people are actually stuck with how to actually like just implement that particular thing, how to just actually get started with it without just following these steps. So you can just you cannot just start without following the previous steps, but you can just get indulged in the journey with following these steps mentioned on the screen. So you can learn git commands. Git commands are really important, and for like you to learn that, you should know the basic functioning and the working of these git commands, because to make a strong foundation, you need to uh, dive deeper in the concepts so as to learn more and more about these functionalities. Learn how to use GitHub and its features. You can refer GitHub docs as well, and filter projects based on the languages projects. Like you can search GitHub Explore, you can search SourceForge, you can search on like Explore on Google's list of open source projects. That's a huge amount of information present in these websites regarding open source projects. You can also view it on various beginner friendly repositories listing out projects. So when you can search it on Google, you'll get to know various websites that have this feature, like to list it out various open source repositories, beginner friendly open source repositories. And when you're done with that, you just go ahead, find good first issues. So good first issues are one of the issues type that are actually beginner friendly. So first of all, try to solve beginner friendly issues, because that actually helps you boost your motivation. It really motivates you to just go ahead and find more and more issues or solve more and more issues. And when that merged PR thing, like the purple tick on GitHub comes, that's actually a great feeling. So you can also create your open source project. Any of the ideas that you worked upon in a hackathon, or any of the ideas that you are thinking to work as a freelancer, you can just open source it to get more and more contributions from around the world. So that's why this open source community is really, really important, because that actually teaches you a lot of things. So this actually helps you write a cleaner code, because there will be regular reviews and feedbacks from the mentors, or let's say from software developers, software engineers around the world, and that will be really helpful for you to write a cleaner code, or a let's say optimized approach for the code. And when you learn various techniques from the same code snippet, let's say we have written a code for a binary search tree, or let's say we have written a code for some JavaScript logic, so that particular JavaScript logic can be minimized by some other software engineer around, and they can pull in make a pull request and optimize that code, and that would be an easier way to learn various techniques and approach for the same code snippet that is to be executed. So, and this actually involves a lot of interactive learning and simultaneous implementation. So this actually is really important during open source. This is really, really interactive and really an efficient way to just learn and be a part of this awesome process. You learn to set up GitHub apps and actions. So this is the very professional way to use GitHub. So you learn to set up various apps, various workflows, actions, linting tools, CI/CD tools, pipelines, etc. on the code base to just increase the efficiency and make the code base much more enhanced. So that is an professional way of using this, and this will actually help you in future endeavors or opportunities whenever you work with an open source community, or let's say any of the organizations you just get working with them. So when you're using these particular open source apps, actions, code flows, any of the things, so that will raise the bar high. That's really important for you. So we'll get started with various programs related to open source that you can participate in and get a lot of exposure. So without delay, I'll just go ahead with Google Summer of Code. As you have heard about it, Google Summer of Code is one of the most prestigious programs offered by Google, and it is a global program focused on bringing more and more student developers from around the world to this particular open source development. And this is actually really a gem. So this is an open source program where multiple open source organizations offer a 10-week programming project during college break, or let's say summer vacations, and students participate, submit their proposals, and for a particular project listed out, and these are actually a lot of work can be done during submitting the proposals, which I'll be discussing later. But the participating organizations here are able to identify and bring in new developers. So we have a lot of developers in the pool that are ready to propose new projects, or let's say apply for that particular project given by the organization. So the organization gets a lot of talent and new contributors to its community, and most importantly, more code is created and released for the use for the benefit of all. So the open source project that was actually having less contributors, or let's say not enough contributors. So in that particular open source community, when more and more contributors come, so more and more code is created and released for the benefit of all. So we can take an example of any of the voice recording or video conferencing software, open source software, and that is enhanced using creating more and more code and is released in various stages. So that actually helps a lot for the community. Next on, we have the Google Season of Docs. Season of Docs provides a support for open source projects to improve their documentation. So we have a technical aspect and a technical writing aspect for this particular open source project, and this technical writing aspect is covered by Google Season of Docs. So this is a professional technical writing opportunity for the technical writers to gain an experience in open source. So here the technical writers work closely with the open source communities and work on high quality documentation. So while mentoring, I found out various applicants who were ready to join the community and just start documentation, but we had to select some only a few proposals, so we selected. But after that, we had quite these documentations. So this is an amazing documentation opportunity. If you're interested in documentation, and that too open source, you should try it out, applying to Google's Season of Docs in the next year, or say next phase. When you submit a statement of interest to the organization, you can describe your experience and technical writing experience. So this is a plus point, a tip here, that when you just submit a statement of interest to the organization, so herein it's not a similar process to Google's Summer of Code. So here you just need to submit a statement of interest to the particular organization that is participating in GSOD, and while you submit your proposal or statement of interest, you can just go ahead and introduce yourself. You can describe your experience in technical writing. That actually adds weight to your particular application and proposal, and will benefit you when they are actually selecting a few handful people from a pool of developers, or let's say technical writers. This another program, MLH Fellowship, is a remote internship alternative for the aspiring technologists. This is actually an amazing program by MLH that runs thrice a year, and they have 3 cohorts per year and a pre-fellowship opportunity. So pre-fellowship program is something like to experience the fellowship program before committing to a full-time 12 weeks opportunity. So a pre-fellowship explorer program is introduced. But for the complete fellowship, the qualified applicants are matched to educational projects and relevant to the programming language and the frameworks or the tooling experience, divided on the time zone, weekly availability, or anything. So these are actually divided into 3 tracks, which in India are open for 2 tracks. So the open source and software engineering tracks are open in India, but the production engineering track isn't, although the 3 tracks are available in internationally in US and other countries as well. So moving on to the outreachy internships. So these internships are diversity initiative that provides paid remote internships based on the people subject to systemic bias and impacted by underrepresentation in the technical industry. So this includes a lot of people that are actually subject to systemic bias. So let's say the outreachy interns are working with experienced mentors from open source communities, and these include a lot of software engineers from various open source organizations like Mozilla and Rails, etc. So the outreachy internship projects may include programming, user experience documentation, illustrations, graphic design, and data science. So these includes a lot of projects, and this program specifically aims to increase the diversity in open source. It invites anyone who faces underrepresentation in the community, systemic bias, or discrimination in technology. So this is actually based on a diversity initiative, apart from the other three, which are just based on the proposal acceptance. And next on, we have the LFX mentorship program. So Linux Foundation offers various projects related to Linux Foundation tools, let's say Prometheus, Thanos, or Linux kernel, and etc. things. So this is designed to help developers with necessary skills, many of whom are first time open source contributors. So this mentorship opportunity provides various open source contributors, like first time open source contributors. And in addition to these programs, the Linux Foundation continues support for the diversity and inclusion with expanded mentorship program co-sponsored by Intel. So they have a set of programs, first one by Linux Foundation itself, and the other one partnered by Intel, to just include people from various diversities. And by participating in this mentorship program, mentees have an opportunity to learn from experienced open source contributors as to get internship and job opportunities upon graduation. So these open source programs that I have mentioned are open once a year, but MLH Fellowship just gets open like thrice a year. They have 3 cohorts, and while you apply for these, I'll just tell you how to apply and how to boost your application, how to boost your profile for these programs or after attending these programs. And so these are open once a year, and you can get an opportunity to just apply it out next year, because I guess all the programs are just have selected various participants this year, but MLH Fellowship might be open, so you can just go and check out for that. And moving ahead, I have other open source programs for you. These are some opportunities that a student can apply. So Season of KDE, Julius Summer of Code, SFF internship, Summer of Haskell, FOSS Asia internship, Community Bridge mentorship program, Open Source Day. So these are a bunch of open source program ongoing around the year, and a student can apply to these to get an experience, an exposure of open source. So these are actually increasing a lot. So let's say these programs are a lot in number, and you can apply in many of the programs that interests you, the projects that interest you. And I am pretty sure that after my later session, in which I just tell you how to propose the application, you might get actually selected for various programs and opportunities offered by these open source organizations. So there are a lot of open source competitions like FOSS Asia Code Heat, Bountiful Open Source Summer, and these Hacktoberfest and Girl Script Summer of Code. So these are open source competitions running throughout the year, and you can take part in it to just get an idea of open source from various university Summer of Codes as well. So that is all which features various open source programs, and I would suggest you to just go ahead and apply for these open source programs with the helpful tips from me. This will actually help you a lot to just apply for these open source programs, get an exposure, get an idea, and add a feather to your cap after getting selected to these awesome, amazing programs. So The participant responsibilities, I'll be talking about the responsibilities of the participants who are actually selected, or let's say if you are not selected but you are a particular experience. So if you are selected, you need to submit high quality work that is being reviewed by the mentors at various intervals, regular intervals, so that the code that is merged does not have any plagiarism, or let's say it does not have any bugs or fixes that are required. Next, we have to regularly communicate with the mentors to just update, keep them up to date with the work that we are going, and you need to just remove the blockers that you encounter. So this is the whole purpose of the communication weekly meetings or bi-weekly meetings. So that is the whole purpose of these meetings, to remove the blockers, to keep the mentors up to date about the progress that is being done, and reevaluate the work of scope if you are like amidst some tension, or let's say if you are ahead or behind the expectations, so you can just reevaluate the scope. And let's say if you're not selected for the particular program, so that's not a particular point to get disheartened. What I'll suggest is there are a lot of programs that are going ahead and going featured around the year, which you can just participate in and get an opportunity to showcase your work. So that's not a point to just get disheartened. That would be better if you just go ahead and apply for various other opportunities that are mentioned in the previous slides. It would be a great opportunity for you, trust me. So this is and the next thing would be to listen and respond to the feedback given by the mentors. So while you are applying for the particular open source program, you just communicate with the mentors. So communication with the mentors in their Slack channel, or let's say the IRC, would be an amazing tip from my end. That would be to just communicate with the mentors, because mentors and the admins provide you a lot more tips to just improve your proposal, to include what all things they just say. Please include them in your proposal. If you're not able to, just inform them and get their feedbacks regularly on the particular proposal, so that it actually helps us in two ways. First of all, your proposal gets refined in a very meaningful way, and the next thing is that they are actually working on the project like from a long more time than you have been working, so they have a better idea of the project, and they could tell what all things are actually required in the particular proposal. So this would be their feedback, and also they get to know that you are really interested in this particular project, and hence they can just like this actually adds a weight when you are just like amidst the selection process of these open source programs. And now I start ahead with this guide to a powerful application. So a powerful application means nothing, but what I'll be telling about is a tip to just write a proposal, a better tip to write a proposal, which you will find which you'll not find easily on internet, because this is actually an experience that I am sharing with you, and these are the things which actually provides a lot of like weight to your application. So do not write any stories or anything on your application, because that gives a negative impact on the mentor or the admin. The next thing, please make sure to just like include personal information, your name, display name of your choice, email addresses, various social media handles where you're following the organization, or let's say you have been tweeting your work or posting your work on LinkedIn, etc. So you can just share those handles, share the links to the blogs you have written, share your experience, technical writing experience if you are going to technical writing domain, or share your various past technical experience working with various software engineering industries. So that actually gives like an idea to the mentor that this guy is having particular experience and in this particular language, and he might best suit our project. So then when you choose an organization, so organizations for various GSOC program, for the GSOC program, can be found on the archives website, where you can just search out various organizations that are participating, and you can get an idea which all organizations might be a part of GSOC 2022 if you are participating or aspiring to participate in the next year. And when you're done with choosing the organizations, and so please get started with the project you are really interested in. And if that particular project is not listed in the ideas list, so what you can do is discuss with the mentors and try to get that project in, or the other way around would be to suggest a project of your choice. So in that suggest a project of your choice is an out of box idea that is actually provided every year by most of the organizations. So therein you can just propose that particular project, and who knows, that a project might get selected. So I have seen various cases where this has happened. So I would just recommend you to start working on a project by any organizations that are participating in these programs, so that you get an idea to how to just get started working on various projects, and how to just speak with mentors, how to write a cleaner code, how to work with communities, everything. So this actually gives immense experience working with open source communities and programs. Next, we have just providing details of the features you are proposing to implement. So if you are providing some basic issues or basic stuff, do not list them in the proposal, because proposal is actually a thing where you need to list out various pinpoints or the important stuff. So basic issues won't make an effect. I would rather say to just start working on various technical issues, or let's say implementing various new features that can enhance that particular project, or you can just propose a completely new phase of that project that would benefit the organization and the project in a longer run. And you need to mention the complete reason why are you proposing this new project topic. You need to just do a research study kind of thing and provide them a complete insight on what and why this module is required. And if you have discussed this project with someone from the open source organization you've selected, so just include a summary of your your talks with the particular mentor, their feedbacks, their reviews. So what all they've said, just include them in the particular proposal, so that when they just review this proposal, they get to know, yes, that particular these things were discussed in a call and everything is included and up to date. So while we are just proposing a new topic, it is beneficial for us to just communicate this particular thing that we are proposing to a mentor, so that they have an idea and they are not blank when the particular proposal just goes in front of them while a review period is on. Pay attention to the language and style of your proposal. So that's more important. That's the most important point which is to be discussed here. When you are just writing a proposal, the style of your proposal, it should not be just hazy or just italics, anything. It should be simple, readable text, and the language should not be informal. It should be everywhere in a formal way. And the open source organization is really most of the open source organizations are really focused on this as the important factor for this, as assessing the particular participant. So this is actually what you get after this open source organizations and attending various programs by organizations. So you get a lot of experience working with open source communities, mentors, reviewers. So let's say there are many of the mentors as open source contributors and software engineers at various like multinational companies or firms or organizations you aspire to work in. So you get to work with various amazing mentors, admins, and amongst these various communities. So the community people are also really awesome and really help you a lot while working on open source projects. So the amount of experience you gain is really immense and amazing. These open source programs that I have mentioned, most of them offer a decent stipend from ranging from around $3,000 to around $6,600 depending on the purchasing power parity of the country. So this actually is a really good thing for the particular participant to just go ahead. This is not this feature should not be considered to be the only to just contribute to open source. You should just contribute to open source to enhance the projects. This is a secondary thing. The stipend is a secondary thing you get for your work and the hard work that you're doing to just enhance the project. The projects completed by particularly you during the program can be added in your resume and your CV can be boosted. So I'll be talking about how to just boost your profile. Yes. So in that I'll be just talking about how these programs help you in just mentioning them in your resume or in your profiles everywhere, and you get a lot of swags and recognition while you work with various organizations. So this MLH, GSOC and GSOD give a lot of swags and recognition while you work with them. And I'll be talking about how these programs can help you in a longer run. So when you just take part in these open source programs, for an instance, let's say this year GSOC, if you have participated and if you are selected, that's an awesome thing. If you're not, please go ahead and apply next year as well, because you if you are building a proposal using the tips provided in this presentation, you are going in the right path, and this will actually help you write a better proposal from the last one. And you never know, you might get selected for the organization. And actually the thing is, you should not include more of the technical stuff, or you should not take just a superficial survey of the complete project. You should just dive deep into the project and write the technical aspects of that particular project, apart from mentioning various things apart from the project. So that is the core thing that needs to be taken care of while writing a proposal. So let's say if you are selected for GSOC, so most of the when you just complete the phases, so this actually gives a feather to your cap, adds a feather to your cap, adds a weight to your resume, where you can just showcase this achievement on various profiles, let's say LinkedIn or resume. So while applying to a company, when they just see that this particular person has taken part in various open source projects, because this is a factor that is considered by various organizations and companies in the coming days to just take part in open source projects. Most of the companies are working on open source, and they actually require people who are well versed with this. So I would recommend you to start working with open source programs, and without any delay, you should just get working with it. So there are a lot of websites, as talked about in this presentation, to just get started. So you can just go ahead with SourceForge, GitHub Explorer. If you're not well versed with GitHub or Git commands, I would recommend you to just go ahead and see it on YouTube or any of the particular Git cheat sheets, or any source that helps you to learn these Git commands. And if you're done with it, then just go ahead, search for the projects, start contributing, and then make sure you apply for these programs that are running around the year. See, application matters, because if you never try, that will not give the result. If you try and fail, that's a different thing, but if you don't try, that is a whole different thing, because you have not tried as well. So I would recommend to just try it out on yourself, write a proposal, anything. If you need any help, just you can just find me on any of the links, any of the social handles mentioned here, and you can just contact me. I'll try to help you out writing a good proposal, and that will actually benefit you in future. This is actually a lot of this provides a lot of experience while working in various organizations. So hope that helps you all. This is all about this presentation that I was to speak, and I'm done with the complete presentation. So you can find me on LinkedIn, Twitter, GitHub, Instagram, anywhere. I've mentioned the handles here, and you can just go ahead and find me. If you need any help, I'll be there, and I'll be ready to help. So I'll just go to the live chat and just see if there are any questions, or we can just wrap up this session. So I guess I've pretty much explained a lot, and this would really help you all. So I see a lot of people asking about GSOC. So okay, so I've explained about GSOC. So the main core tip for the GSOC would be to just keep an eye on the organizations, on the timeline, specifically when the organizations are released, when the projects are released, and you can just go ahead, join the IRC channel, and then just interact with various mentors, people, community people, so that they get to know about you. And when you are done with, when you are amidst the project and you're building stuff, then you'll get a lot of experience. And also when you just propose your project, it'll be really helpful when you are just proposing, because your experience working with that open source organization will help you in a longer run when you just go ahead and apply for GSOC. And the next question would be will we get to choose the technology to work on for the project? Yes, so as I told, there are a lot of open source projects, and you can just filter out based on the particular let's say the tech stack, the language, anything you like. So there are let's say we just go ahead with GSOC archives. So there are a lot of projects based on Python, based on web technologies, based on cloud technologies, and various other frameworks or languages. So you get to choose various projects and languages. You get to choose various open source organizations based on various other filters provided by SourceForge and GitHub Explorer. And this GSOC archives provide you a lot of filters to just filter the right organization for you. And that would be a particular important stress point, where I just want to say that if you choose a project that matches your tech stack, that would be a way awesome thing to do, because that would really interest you, and that would actually give you a lot more exposure to that particular language and framework. So this will actually help you enhance the code base much more efficiently. And if we are actually amidst this, let's go to the other sessions, any upcoming open source events for July-August session. So upcoming open source events, yes, I mentioned in the starting that Open Source Day by Anita Bjork is one of the sessions that are going to be on July 15th, and I'll be mentoring that session as well. So you can just join in, contribute to any open source any open source project. I'll be mentoring the Circuitverse project, so you can just go ahead and find out good first issues. We have reserved them right now for the Open Source Day, but you can just go ahead and search for various good first issues in the repository, and we'll be good to go on 15th July, and we'll meet there. And Can you suggest a sample template for the resume? Okay, so resume is not the part I was talking about here, but yes, you can just search for Overleaf or like any of the resume makers online, so you can just get various samples and templates. What is the correct length for a resume? So this is the last question, I guess, from the complete live chat. And going ahead, the correct length of resume is not defined. There is no correct length for the resume. You have a lot of achievements, you can just go ahead and mention that, but single page resume are much more preferred for various organizations. That is to be mentioned here. There is no correct length, but single page resume is much more preferred by various organizations. So this is all from my side. You can go ahead, apply for open source day or MLH fellowship coming this quarter, and you can just go ahead, apply for various other open source programs, and that would be an awesome way to start your journey with open source. Have a great day, take care, and stay safe. Bye everyone. And you can find me on these links, so you can just communicate or contact me later after this event.